We are 2 weeks away from Make Solo 2 Happen Day. So mark your calendars, get your gear or swag, whatever you call it, and get ready because in 14 days, it is on. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We have a really great show in store for you. We have a lot to talk about in terms of directors coming to Star Wars in movies, shows, all down the line. It is our new show, so we're going to tackle everything going on in a galaxy far, far away. James and Lacey with me as always. Speaking of which, guys, Mando Fan Show came back with a vengeance on Friday. I was pumped to bring it back. I didn't realize we'd be bringing it back this soon. I was kind of putting it away like Oshi's ship on Pisana, collecting some dust until this fall. But here we are back with a little bit different version of the Mando Fan Show, but it still felt like it. You guys glad we're bringing that back? And how you been overall? How's your life doing in these crazy wild times? I know we like to check in week to week on this, but what's going on?
Yeah. I am glad that we're bringing back Mando Fan Show, obviously. Yeah. And I'm also glad that my gas station shirt is holding up.
Yeah, so you've talked about this before. Now, for the people not watching, describe what that monstrosity that you're wearing is.
So I just happened to be on a road trip, and I was in a gas station, and they had Star Wars shirts, and I was like, all right, whatever, look at these. And there was one, and I thought, that's a pretty cool design. I like blue shirts. And here it is right here. As you can see, it's a Star Wars, right? And it wasn't until after I bought the shirt, I was like, whatever, it's a cheap shirt, it's at a gas station, it'll last as long as it'll last. It's actually lasted a lot longer. But it wasn't until after I bought the shirt and I went out to the car and I was sitting in the car looking at it when I realized that the shirt, in fact, says Star Wars The Force Awakens.
No S.
No S. Look at
that. It's incredible. Did you ever think about drawing an S on the end there?
I've considered it.
It's actually funnier if it doesn't have the S.
Yeah. I kind of like it because it's my Force Awakens shirt, you know?
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Lacey, what's going on?
Nothing. I'm pumped the Mando Fan Show's back. I love doing that show. I am loving the gallery series.
Yeah.
You guys know, I say this all the time. I love behind the scenes stuff, so
yeah.
I like seeing how it's done. And we get into it on the Mando Fan Show, but I was super pumped to hear that Deborah Chow was like, oh, I love action. I'm all about it. That's what I love. That's what drives me. And I was like, oh, yeah. It's nice when you get someone's vision right. Like, she got the episodes with a lot of action, and I was always saying, like, oh, yeah, the action leads where her camera movements are going. And then to hear her be like, oh, action's my favorite thing. I was like, yes, I get you.
Yeah.
And I'm just...
She was 3 and 7, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So,
which I think were the some of the best.
Yes.
If not the two best.
I think the third episode was the best episode of the season. I know people a lot of people like the last one. I still like the third one. Is just so good where he goes back but it just makes me more excited for the Kenobi series because she's the director on that. So
yeah,
wow,
makes me pumped.
Every Friday we're going to be tackling one episode going forward of the remaining 6, but we knocked out the first 2 because it was the first Mando Fan Show, so we covered the first one and the second episode, Legacy, which talked to the cast and crew about the legacy of Star Wars and kind of preserving that and honoring that. And so we got the directors, and then we got that part of it, and that was interesting to be able to give our takes on that. But that's why we have the Mando Fan Show. So if you haven't checked out that yet, it is not only just on the Star Wars Newsnet YouTube channel, but also on the podcast feed for Star Wars Newsnet and the Resistance Broadcast. So you can get that anywhere on any of the audio platforms. But you don't get all the cool little images and the little doohickeys that James and
all my editing
toss up. And all the superb editing done behind the scenes. And these baby blues right here.
Well, James does all the graphics. I just edit it.
Yeah. All right.
She pops them in.
I pop them in.
And I'm just completely and utterly unstoppably charming.
And you're the host, John. You're so wonderful.
No, but the other thing I want to get into real quick, James, speaking of which, you had a great run on the Clone Wars fan show. That thing picked up a lot of steam as the season heated up, and the font changed to red. And just give us a quick couple sentences on to put a bow on the Clone Wars fan show, on your experience doing that. It's all solo.
Yeah, no, it was interesting and a lot of fun because sometimes I think like where we bounce off of each other really well, I was like, man, what is it going to be like? And I don't know, I just even in the first couple episodes I was a little off, but I figured out my pattern. I figured out how I wanted to produce the show, and it felt pretty good. By the end of it, I felt that I had come to feel like I was talking to people just through the camera, whereas normally I feel like I'm talking to you and I get feedback immediately. I had to learn to like have a conversation with nobody and still have a good time and be interested in talking about certain things. And for anybody that, hasn't watched it or watched the Clone Wars fan show or this final season yet, I think I'm with most people with like slow start, like, hey, when are we going to get to the good stuff? But at the end of it, like, you feel very accomplished that you watched all that you watched. You look back on it and you're like, hey, those were all really good episodes. I really liked those. And the series ends with 4 episodes that were meant to be presented like as if it was a movie. And and I joke, I'm not, no hyperbole, it's some of the best Star Wars that's ever been created. And it's crazy to think that we're still getting it. Disney is still producing stuff that you could arguably say is some of the best Star Wars ever created, and it's awesome.
The finale especially, just my quick take on the Return of the Clone Wars, I thought was brooding and dark, and it doesn't leave you feeling good. But that's the state of the galaxy. It is the pairing running along, like when you're on a highway with a median, but both or sections are going the same way. There's Revenge of the Sith there, and there's the Clone Wars, and they're all going along. And you're not seeing what's going on with Obi-Wan and Anakin anymore. This is what's happening with Ahsoka and Rex and everyone else, and you're kind of seeing where they were at when those things were happening. Kind of like at the beginning of the final episode, you hear the music of Padme's funeral, so it gives you the idea that maybe that's going on there. And I know you touched about all this stuff in the Clone Wars fan show, so definitely go check it out. But my parting words on that, the final scene, if you haven't seen it yet, jump ahead to Resistance Report. But Vader showing up, and he looked really good. The best I've seen Vader animated in a while, maybe ever, in Star Wars. And him kind of picking up that lightsaber, and you get those vibes almost like Kenobi picking up Anakin's lightsaber, but it's a flipped sort of situation. And
so good.
And it gives you, and the music gave me those Blade Runner vibes, and it's very noir feeling, and it leaves you feeling like empty, but in a sad.
It ties to Rebels too. Don't forget that as well.
Yeah, right. And but a satisfying ending for a show that had a long run that's lasted 12 years. And Lacey, James, you had brought this up before. Lacey was there to hear the announcement on that it was.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Lacey, like, to remind us, like, go take us through that state of the fandom when the Clone Wars was announced for it was coming back.
Oh, at San Diego Comic-Con, I was like, where was I?
Yeah,
I thought you guys were like, you were there. I'm like, was I? Yeah, no, it was nuts. I was in a panel for San Diego Comic-Con, and Ashley was there, and Matt Lanter was there. Who else was there? I don't know if Sam Witwer was there. He might have been there. I don't know. I don't know. Filoni was definitely there. I just remember going in being like, I'm not the biggest fan of this show, but I just want to see what's going to happen, and I want to be in a room with everybody else that's pumped. Like, I feed off of other people's energy, so I was just excited to be in the room. And then when they announced it, like, there were people straight up crying. Like, Ashley Eckstein was crying. Other people in the room were crying. And to know that Disney and Star Wars, Lucasfilm listened to fans and brought this show back just gives me so much hope for Make Solo 2 happen and other Star Wars content that we could eventually get. James, I know you would love to see another Rebel series. So this is another example of like, they're listening. They hear you. They know what fans want. And if, which is most likely, Ahsoka shows up in The Mandalorian, that's another example of they're listening to you. So it's just exciting to see everybody pumped about the show. And even if people are like, oh, I'm emotionally wrecked, like they still loved it, like you guys said. So it's just great. And I was more than anything excited for Ashley to get to be Ahsoka again. And I hope she gets to be Ahsoka again in the future.
Yeah. Odds are good on that. But, James, we have other stuff to hop into. Some really exciting news that I think every fan's wrapping their arms around. So let's hop into the Resistance Report this week.
It's the Resistance.
Wow, John, you are right. We have a lot of content to talk about, mostly because this is the episode after May the 4th, which
was nuts.
Is big because, I think we kind of joked last week that we don't really know how much information we're going to get. Sometimes they'll put a little something out there, a little something special. You can expect something, but I actually feel like they released a lot of stuff. And one of the big takeaways, we did a special call with our resistance officers, and I asked everybody what was the big takeaway, and almost everybody gave the answer of this next story, which was Taika Waititi is officially directing a new Star Wars feature film, and he's going to be co-writing it with Krysty Wilson-Cairnes. Co-writing, but he will be directing. And then also in tie with that as well, we also got news that, and this is more of an official thing because it was kind of reported that Leslye Headland is also going to be doing a series for Disney Plus as well. So just right off the top, man, that has got to be the biggest news of the week, right? We've got so much more, but let's get started with this. John, what do you think about the story of Taika Waititi directing a Star Wars feature film?
It's great news for a lot of reasons. One, out of the gate when it was announced, you usually do the whole like wince and look through your eyes and wait for the social media storm and people getting mad about an announcement, and it just didn't happen after he was announced. So that was surprising this day and age for Star Wars fans. So that's a good thing. So people seem to be overall embracing the decision there for Taika Waititi. It's hard to not like the guy. Even if you don't love all of his movies, he's very charming, he's very likable, and he's very talented. Maybe people are off the heels of Chapter 8 of The Mandalorian, and they're like, you know what? That guy did a really good job, and I like what he's bringing to the table here. Now, it's a hell of a team. Krysty Wilson-Cairnes, I'll be honest, not very familiar with her, but 1917 really took waves at the Oscars and Golden Globes, and her writing that paired with Taika, who also won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. You got to expect you're going to get a great script here, and we know what he can do behind the camera directing. So all we need to know now is find out exactly what it is, and that's the one thing that Star Wars seems to be holding back on. They're always telling us who's making the movies, who's writing the movies, who's producing the shows, but they never tell us what they're called, what they're about, or when they're going to take place, or when they're going to come out. Which takes me to my next point. Before Lacey hops in, thinking this might be the Kevin Feige produced movie that Kathleen Kennedy talked about. It would make sense because of the Marvel pairings and ties between him and Taika Waititi. And you got to.
Do you think it's the 2022 one?
You got to think it is because they're still not talking about Rian Johnson. He wasn't mentioned once on May the 4th. He's been very vague, but said he's still working on ideas. That sounds very pen to paper still.
Right.
Again, I keep saying this on the podcast, but I feel like it needs to warrants being repeated. Rian Johnson's not a guy who struggles coming up with ideas. If you saw Knives Out, so to think that he's still trying to come up with ideas after 3 years of being announced, there's something more to this here, and I'm curious what's going to happen with that. So, but again, that rounds me out to thinking that this movie with Taika is going to be the new one slotted into the slot for 2022, because right now that's the only movie on the schedule, and it begs my final question: is it a standalone, or are we kicking off a new sort of saga
What do you
franchise
think?
type of thing here? I don't know, because I could see him popping in and just doing some wacky solo standalone Star Wars movie, but I hope it's a kickoff of something bigger.
Imagine if that's what it is. Imagine if it's the next story of Rey. Oh my God, I'd lose it.
It won't be.
I know, but imagine if it was.
I know. I actually, if you were to tell me he's gonna do something that's already like to pick off something that's already happened, I would love for him to do Solo.
Only because he's picked up
Solo.
Thor from where it was.
Oh.
Wait, sorry, what did you
That's
say?
a great.
Taika doing.
He said he would be a great director for Solo too.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh, he would
unbelievable.
be.
Yeah, but
He would be.
I think if you're putting in this pedigree and you're bringing,
Maybe that's what it
you're
is.
bringing them in off of the Oscar wins and the Oscar accolades and all that, and you have both writers involved here, they're giving them a blank canvas and they're saying, "Go, tell us what our next story is." So I think they're giving them a clean slate here.
So if you had a choice, if you were Kathleen Kennedy and you were deciding, would you pick Solo for him, or would you let him do the saga? Like, what would be your pick for him?
Oh, neither. I would honestly, if you're saying I had to pick one of those two options, you're saying?
No, like would you rather him do his own story, whatever,
yeah.
Solo, or saga?
No. If I had a blank piece, go ahead, just write whatever you want and go. Like I think he is so he's zany and inventive enough, but he's also kind of genius in that way. You could tell even him in interviews, he's just a very smart guy and he kind of gets it. And what they said about him in that documentary about how he gets the humor and how he knows that Star Wars doesn't take itself seriously, but it knows what it is and that sort of thing. He's saying all the right things, and he's a guy who is usually a little like off the cuff with his responses, but I think he's also very calculated. I think this is a great pick. I think they're going to give him a blank canvas, and I think he earned it as a creator. Now, Ragnarok didn't do superb at the box office.
It's one of the best Marvel movies.
Only
I think.
380 domestic, and maybe that's not their. Well, look at Solo made 390 in its run, and people said it bombed. Cume, but
that wasn't the narrative, John. The narrative was that it did bad.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. But I think he's going to get a clean slate and be able to just tell the story he wants with Krysty Wilson-Cairnes. That's the name, right? I keep slipping that up. Yeah. But I'm excited and I trust it, and I think he'll do a good job.
Hey, Lacey, really quick to answer your question, hands down, make Solo 2 happen.
Really? I think he'd
Absolutely.
be perfect for it, and he'd come up with crazy creatures and aliens and droids and all this other stuff.
So do
too.
I, but do you think he would want to do that?
Absolutely. Everyone
No.
loves Han Solo. Oh.
Absolutely no. I feel
If he
like
had a
Taika
choice,
Waititi,
if they were like, here, you could do Solo or nothing.
No. If he had a chance to do Solo or nothing, he might do it or whatever. But I think if he had a chance to create his own Star Wars world or pick up Solo, he'd probably go for the create your own world.
Sure.
But I think that where he won, or I don't know. Actually, I don't remember if he won or was nominated.
He won the Oscar.
Where
He won for best
it was
adapted
for
screenplay.
Best adapted, correct.
Yeah.
Which means he was taking a character that had already been created and a world that had already been created, and he improved it, made it better.
Same with Thor.
I actually read a thread. Well, exactly, that was my point. So I read a thread recently that was like, what's a movie that was better than its original property? And they said Jojo Rabbit because he improved it.
Right.
And that was where I was getting with Thor as well, is that he took a franchise that was kind of like, oh, we might not know exactly what we want to do with this character, and he reinvented him into something else. I'm confident, very confident that Taika could create, but right now, what he's good at is taking what's been given to him and improving it incredibly. And with his style of humor, I would love to see Han and Chewie find themselves in situation with that type of Taika humor.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I just don't think he's gonna. Yeah.
No. I'm with like the reality versus in the imaginary scenario. Which one would you rather him do? I would prefer him to do Solo too. Lacey, let's get to you. Come on, let's talk about this. What are your
I've been
thoughts?
chiming in the whole time, but
All right, there you go.
now is my time. I'm the captain. So
Lacey,
first of all,
and don't hesitate to Taika your time here and just really.
he had to just
flesh
get it
this
in
out.
there. One last. So what I was gonna say first is every time I read these notes, I just see Krysty Carlson Romano instead of Krysty
Oh, yeah.
Wilson-Cairnes, because guys, I have Disney Plus, right? We all do. I've been watching Even Stevens like nonstop. That show is so good. Shia LaBeouf is a genius. I would love to see him in a Star Wars. Anyway, that being said,
Honey boy.
oh, he's
Peanut
so
Butter
good,
Falcon.
so good. I am super pumped about the Taika announcement. I think, like James said and John said, he's just above and beyond super creative, so funny. I actually, in the gallery show, they did all these interviews with Taika and other people about Taika. And like John said, they talked about how he's great with finding the humor in action, but not letting it overtake the action and stuff like that. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was when he said that he was a painter first, and then it was a tough place to be because of galleries and that type of world. So then he went into writing, and then he went into film, and he realized he can mush all this stuff together with, composition and writing and how to put together a movie and music and all these things. And then that's how he got into film, which brings me to why he's a great choice for this, because also he talks about how he's recycling things from other movies. Which,
Yeah, that was awesome.
One of the funniest parts is when he's like, yeah, I went to this costume shop and was like, what's in your trash? Like, what can I have that you're throwing out or getting rid of or didn't use for Lord of the Rings that I can repurpose? And I think that kind of spirit is perfect for a Star Wars movie, like problem solving and like, what can I do in a weird budget? And also, what can I do that is just weird? Like, he just gets this, like, Ragnarok is so charming and wonderful because of Taika. It wouldn't have been that way without him. So I agree with James. That's why I kind of lean towards the what is he doing that isn't original, because what he's done so far is adapting things and taking things and making them better. Like, Thor Dark World was terrible. It was so bad. And then you get Ragnarok, which is in a complete another direction. So I think he could, I would love for him to do Solo. I think he would be perfect for it, but I don't think they wouldn't bring back John Kasdan. That's where I'm kind of like, it can't be Solo, because they would have brought him back, right? They wouldn't do that without John Kasdan.
Yeah,
Potentially.
Yeah, probably. I would think probably not. Kasdan's weird though right now. I love him for what he did with Solo with his dad, of course,
Right.
but he was sort of involved with Indy and then not, but he's still obviously very close with Michelle Redjwan, as James is well aware.
Right, because she sent him a picture of a shirt, yeah.
That's interesting. I think he's always kind of hanging out. And he may even be a little bit involved in the Willow thing they got going on,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But
But,
overall, I'm super pumped. I think he's going to do a really awesome job. 1917 has only been given praise and wonderful reviews. I haven't seen it personally. I have a tough time with
I
war
haven't
movies.
seen it yet either. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm really watching Even Stevens a lot.
I'm on my third rewatch of Boy Meets World. Screw 1917.
Even Stevens is so good. But yeah, I think they're going to do a great job. And I think, I've given my thoughts on the Leslye Headland stuff a couple weeks ago. But seeing her tweets talking about it and seeing the way she's reacted to the news of how excited she is gets me excited for it. And I'm willing to get excited that someone else is coming into the Star Wars creator family and will give us a new voice that we haven't had before.
Yeah.
Real quick, James. Lacey, if he does say whatever reason, they're like Taika is doing a Solo and he's gonna revive that because of what he did with Thor, didn't do as well, and he kind of whatever. Do you think he would have a lot of Waititi freighters in that movie?
You just
YTT, do you do this to us, John?
No, but in a serious note, though, his independent movie, that What We Do in the Shadows, was original and people love that. So
I give you such a genuine yes, John. that it just sucked all the energy out of me. Just
Ooh.
moving on, James. Please save us.
I don't know what more to say. I mean, I think we've kind of talked a little bit about how his refreshing, positive nature. It's kind of funny because, John, you mentioned at the very beginning that, you know, when you were holding your hand over your face and like waiting for everybody to go crazy on social, he probably would be the person leading the charge. I could see a tweet from him being like, "Fire Taika."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's true.
I was
That's
approached.
a good point, man.
What does that mean? I've seen a Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, what about that, James? What about the fact that him and Leslye Headland doing the whole "I don't know" thing, or you know
It's legal.
the
NDAs.
rumors
They
thing.
have to.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of, you know, there's something really interesting about this guy's personality because, you know, he says things when he's on the Gallery of the Mandalorian show, and he's, you know, it's just like, man, taken out of context, or if you just wrote this
The Bryce
like line, the
Dallas.
way he talks about how he doesn't really like people, like there's something about like you just immediately go like, I get it, he's joking, it's a joke. But he's not afraid to say that stuff, and that's what's kind of interesting is people, you know, he was rumored to do this thing and he just totally plays it off / lies and says he isn't doing it, here he isn't involved. And at the end of it, I feel like most other directors probably would have been villainized for that, you know? They're like, you were lying about this. Like when we asked you, you didn't. I mean, even Matt Smith, you know, was like asked about you know, this stuff, and he's like trying to work around the answers, and everybody's like, why aren't you just telling us the truth and stuff? But like when Taika does it, we're all like, yeah, he got us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's something positive about him, even, you know, in just about any scenario, no matter what is thrown at him, he manages to turn it around and make everybody happy.
Let me ask you guys. No, go ahead.
Let me ask. No, go you.
So what if Taika's doing the Boba Fett movie? Because they did all
I don't
that.
know, I mean-
Listen, they did all the work for it already.
Did you say Wisson?
Yes.
Are you hunting Jojo Wabbits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
You, with her Smith and Wesson.
My brain moved faster than my mouth did. That happens a lot. All right. So they already
What if
did
he does a
lot.
Wando sequel?
Shut up.
Oh
They
my
already did a lot
gosh.
of work on it. You know, and it got scrapped. But what if they're bringing it back because of all the work he's done on Mando? He's shown that he can do action and bounty hunters and kind of a dark but with humor. And then she's coming from 1917, which is war. So, like, you mix those two together and it would make kind of sense for the Boba Fett movie. And it's something that fans want.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't want to totally
Wesson.
sit here and be like, well, what if he's doing Yoda? Well, what if he's doing, you know?
I think
I
he's
know,
getting
but
that
I
blank
think-
canvas, guys.
I
really do.
agree with the blank canvas. I'm just saying if I was to pick a character that he's probably going to get, it might be the Boba Fett movie.
An
The,
established, yeah.
the last
Alright.
point I have on Taika, just for because usually directors have
Take it one more
tendencies.
time.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Did you just drop a Taika joke?
No.
She tried.
Taika one more time. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Taika one more time.
Oh God, Taika break. Like, you know, directors usually have tendencies on what they do with releasing info and stuff. Like Ron Howard teased photos from Solo, and JJ's very secretive. Did Taika release anything about Thor, like, along the way? Like, did he tease things? Like, because that's what you're going to get out of him
Well, I
when
don't
he
know.
makes his Star Wars movie. Whatever he did for that is probably going to be the similar type of vibe when he's making his Star Wars movie. So
I mean,
we
he
should-
announced Jane was coming back as Thor at San Diego Comic-Con.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's announced female Thor. That's a big thing.
I just want to go back and kind of see what he did throughout the production of Thor to try to get an idea of what we're in store for.
Well, didn't he post... Did he post stuff about Mandalorian? Or did Favreau?
No,
I don't think he did.
Favreau did a lot of that stuff. I think there was him voicing IG-11. There was an image of that, which may be what you're thinking of. But man, I think he's going to be great no matter what he's doing. Even Love and Thunder, man. He's bringing in Christian Bale and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
I cannot wait. All right, but let's move on to other directors, because we have a couple other directors that were officially announced on May the 4th. Robert Rodriguez is going to be directing an episode or possibly more of The Mandalorian Season 2, as well as Peyton Reed, both known for their, wonderful feature films. Robert Rodriguez doing all sorts of stuff from John, what are the big ones for you? Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah, of course. No, I like the Desperado trilogy. I like that stuff.
Didn't he do Death Proof?
No,
Yeah.
he did Planet
No.
Terror.
Planet Terror.
That's right,
Yeah, he did the one with like Rosario Dawson, and she has the machine gun leg and that sort of thing.
That wasn't Rosario Dawson.
Oh,
Wasn't that
look at
Rose
that.
McGowan?
Oh no,
Maybe that's his,
I'm sorry. What's her name? Rose McGowan. Rose
Yes.
McGowan, right? Yeah.
You know how I know
Rosario
that
Da-
poster is sitting in my living room.
Rosario Dawson's in Death Proof. You just mixed me completely
Yes.
up. Yeah, and he did Sin City, which I loved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I like. Go ahead. I thought you were asking me to go off here. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just wanting you to name a couple of your favorite Robert Rodriguez movies, and then I was going to mention Peyton Reed. Obviously, is known for the Ant-Man
Bring it
movies,
on.
1 and 2, Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Never heard of that movie. Okay, Lacey, what do you think of Bring It On?
I love Bring It On. It's like the best movie ever. It's such a good movie. You can't say it's not.
Goodness, we are all over the place. John, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. Robert Rodriguez. What do you need to say other than a guy who has pedigree doing Western style films? Good friends with Jon Favreau. It could have been a very casual situation where he invited him down and had a discussion over lunch, and he's like, "Do you want to knock out one of these episodes for us?" And he's like, "I'm down. Yeah, I'll be there." So I'm curious to see what he brings to the table. A lot of people you're either like a really into what he does, or you don't know a lot about Robert Rodriguez. I guess it's not one of those things. He's not necessarily a household name, but he's a very successful in what he's done for the better part of 30 years. But the things he has done, he does well, and he knows that genre and that style. And you could just see Mando marching out there and some sort of "I'll meet you at high noon" for the big face-off, but happening in Star Wars, and him directing that superbly. And again, shout out to BSR. Steve Ellis broke this on their show that he was doing it, and on top of doing that, he said he heard what he shot was great. And usually people inside the walls won't say that. Unless they're confident in it, because you don't want to oversell things and start getting stuff out there and overhyping stuff. So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table. I mean, look, Jon Favreau's running the ship, right? You got Bryce Dallas Howard, who never directed a thing in her life, and she directed an episode of the show that a lot of people really enjoy in terms of everything that happened, even though it was a little bit of a throwback to... I don't know if it was like...
Seven Samurai.
Yes, yeah, right, Seven Samurai. So, you have an experienced director like him, you got to expect it's going to be a good situation and a good product. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Lacey, any thought on these directors coming to The Mandalorian Season 2?
Well, I think Peyton Reed did a great job with Ant-Man. He made a character that nobody really cared about into someone that is lovable and funny, and it's just like a super fun movie. Also, that helps that it's Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is like the golden retriever, like Chris Evans of people. Like, you can't not like him.
The golden retriever. That's
so is
perfect.
Chris Evans is the same. They're like the same level. They're both like attractive. They don't age, and they're super nice, and everybody loves them. Like, I've never heard anybody talk bad about either of those people. But I'm actually more excited about Robert Rodriguez only because he's done a lot of these like nitty gritty, dark action movies. And I really liked Alita Battle Angel. I know people are kind of on the fence. They're either they really, really love it or they were like, meh. I thought it was really fun to watch. I had a great time throughout the movie, and I think that the technology that was used in the movie is crazy. He worked with James Cameron on it, and I could see why he'd want to be involved with The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian is really pushing the boundaries with technology and changing the way that we look at TV and movies from now until years from now. So I could see why he'd want to get involved. And that picture he posted of him and Baby Yoda is absolutely adorable. And that's something that, like, if I got a picture like that, that would be on the wall right when you walk into my house. Like, that is the first thing you would see. I might hang it on my front door. Like, this happened. Peyton Reed was like, "Oh, here's the helmet." I was like, "Get your picture out of here."
Yeah, right. He's like, "What do I have? What can I take a picture of?"
Yeah, Lacey, you nailed it. For me, Robert Rodriguez is very well known for his contributions in the technology world. I kind of I don't know a whole lot about him. Like, I haven't seen a lot of his films. But I do know that when his name gets brought up, it usually gets brought up. He's kind of a cult director. Like, people don't know who he is, but the people who do know who he is are like, obsessed, he's the best. Yeah. And his innovation in the way he thinks about a unique view on directing and how to utilize technology fits in perfectly with The Mandalorian. So I think that Jon Favreau, that is using his asset here, which is I have this show, I have new technology, I have opportunity to reach out to someone in this space and really do something special with Robert Rodriguez. The other thing about Peyton Reed that I don't think anybody said is Peyton Reed created a movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that at the time we were kind of toying around with this idea, but I feel like it officially landed when Ant-Man came out. And that was that while the MCU has its overall tone of what to expect and the type of humor and the type of look of the movies, they all have the special kind of feel to them, you know. This one is kind of this movie, and this one is kind of like this movie. Yeah. And I feel like the one that really broke into that was Ant-Man, because they said it's a heist film.
Right.
And if he was hired to do a heist film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it doesn't surprise me. Ant-Man and the Wasp is kind of like that too. It doesn't surprise me that, hey, he landed a high-budget heist movie. We need him in The Mandalorian. Who's the guy you want to do a big budget heist movie? Right. You know? So he almost makes me feel like you might see a heist story for his episode.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's just
because they're going to bring that crew back
on my part.
That crew that were left
Burr.
on the prison ship.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes. Maybe they have to team up again. You know
what's funny? I haven't seen a lot of. I don't know that I've seen a full Ant-Man movie, if I have to be honest. Like, I think it's one of those.
I saw the first one, not the second one.
I think it's one of those MC. How many? There's two of them?
There's two, yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp is the second one.
Which leads into Endgame.
That when they toss it on, like, TNT or whatever, I'll catch it or something for a little bit, and I enjoy what I watch, but it's never been like, I gotta throw Ant-Man in. So I really don't know much about Peyton Reed, but...
I'm not going to lie, I think I've seen both of them 3 times.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I liked the first one. Yeah. I just never... It was one of those things that I think... And this is just me. Movies now, I kind of pick and choose what I go to. Well, not anymore, but I used to pick and choose what I go to. So it was just like, I'll just wait for that to come out on video, and it hasn't. Well, now it is on Disney+, so maybe I'll have to stop watching Even Stevens and watch.
Think about this for a second, though, guys. Jon Favreau... Taika Waititi, Peyton Reed, Kevin Feige, all just slowly becoming a part of the Star Wars fabric. I don't think
Carl
that's a
Weathers.
coincidence. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that director in there.
Yes, Carl Weathers, yes. But no, MCU wise, though, it's all of a sudden you like look and there's like a list forming and it's like...
Synergy. Yeah. Disney loves synergy.
So interesting to see.
Yes, very much so. You know what else is interesting to see? A sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah, we got one last thing we want to talk about in the Resistance Report before we move on to the rundown. But I did want to mention that Jedi Fallen Order has officially franchised, I guess, if you want to say it that way. We thought it might have been a one and done game, but it looks like they are planning to carry on the characters The ending kind of lets you know that, but you never know. But they are going to be doing more of these. The only thing that bums me out is that after this was announced, I saw Jedi Fallen Order 2, Jedi Fallen Order 2, Jedi Fallen Order 2, and I'm like, that's not what it's going to be called. I get it. It's a Baby Yoda thing. What else are you going to say? But I feel very confident that it's going to be Jedi : something else. Right?
Yeah.
Are we right? Are we wrong?
Yeah,
agree.
probably. Yeah.
Lacey, what do you think about this coming back? You loved Fallen Order, right?
Yeah, it was super fun. I didn't get all the way through, I'm going to be honest. It's one of those games that you need to really put in a lot of time, which we said when we were leading into it. Like, I was like, man, you get better over time, you build skills, like you could really, what you put into the game is what you get out of it. My favorite games are FPS, so I just like killing people. So while you get to kill people in this game and stuff, it's not the same as like Battlefront, which is where I love to spend my video gaming time.
Lacey, you're the Deborah Chow of TRB.
I guess so. I love just like running in there and just blowing people away. So yeah, I'm excited that they're making another one. I gotta get through the first one. It gives me some time to do that. But again, guys, this just means more Star Wars content. This means that they listened to fans. They wanted this other game. They're making it a franchise. What else can they expand on? And it just means the galaxy is getting bigger and bigger, and that's just exciting. So I'm pumped for all the people that really love this game.
Yep. John, what do you think about this?
I think it's great because I know, and I haven't had a system since PS3.
You want to come over? You could play mine.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But my PS3 is down underneath my console here, and it doesn't work anymore because my son broke it. He broke the power button. That's been my last console, and I have been hesitant to get back into video gaming because I feel like I'm not that good at modern video games, and I'm intimidated by them because there's so much to do now. It's not just do the thing and beat the game. It's, you have to download this content and add this and this skin for this character, and it's just so overwhelming to me. But I like hearing that a Star Wars game was successful and well received because it seems like there's been a lot of, they disappointed us again. I didn't like that one. So I like hearing that. I also keep sometimes forgetting that this is a game because you got all that animation in the video in-game, and you have Cameron Monaghan, who I loved Shameless, and I still watch that. It's funny, I told my wife when we were at Celebration that he came on stage, and that Lacey and I saw him at the Rise of Skywalker premiere hanging out, and my wife thought that was the coolest part of me being there at a Star Wars event was Cameron Monaghan from Shameless. So
he was like taking pictures with Chewie. It was really cute.
Yeah, and you kind of almost think like, is this guy eventually going to play this character outside of the video games? But just back to the game alone, I have a decision to make. Like, the PS5 coming out, right?
Yep.
Like, do I get back in? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of time to play games anyway, but I feel like I should maybe just get another system because it's been so long. And I would love to try another Star Wars game, but like, is there an easy mode? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there is.
There is?
John.
Yeah, so.
Look, you got to do what I do.
What?
You just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, James just watches the gameplay.
I did.
Which is also what a lot of people do.
No, okay, I watched the story mode. I did that for Battlefront 2. I watched the story. I did that.
Sure.
But
what you still need to go into more detail with that though. Are you watching the person play it?
No.
Or are you watching the video?
Like you can watch someone play it. Like Star Wars Explained plays it all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
That's creepy.
No, it's not.
I feel like I'm standing behind their couch like, what are you doing?
No, Alex like answers questions and stuff. It's actually pretty fun.
Oh. Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's like you're playing the game, but it's on. You know how like when you'll watch like a heavy drama HBO show or whatever versus like Friends, it's kind of on in the background, and then when you're done with it, you're like, yeah, I remember what happened. I remember all those episodes, but you don't have to like pay super attention to it. In a video game, it's like you have to sit down and you have to actually like sit there and focus on every move that you're doing.
Right, that's
very intensive. This takes all of that away, man. it's playing and you're kind of like, okay, he's making his way through the thing and he's jumping over a couple things. He's still fighting those guys. No worries. I can, wash the dishes or whatever. And you're kind of watching it and you're paying attention. And then when things happen, when he gets to another area, you kind of stop for a second and you check it out. And you go on that 18, 20 hour journey through the game. And when you're done,
hours?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm probably in the course of 25 hours, 26 or 28 maybe even hours into Final Fantasy VII Remake right now.
Holy cow.
I mean, I get it. It's like a TV show or something,
I've watched
it's you're
20
watching
hours
8 seasons
of
or something, but yeah, it's playing the game just without with on zone out mode.
Yeah.
But you're not playing.
It's also like
Someone else
sitting
mode you can't.
Right, but it's also like going to your friend's house
but you're
and watching
doing the
them
same
play.
thing they would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not hitting the buttons. You're just watching them do it?
Yeah.
John, I'm not fighting Darth Vader either. I'm watching Luke do it. I don't understand what your issue is here.
John, Twitch is a huge thing on the internet.
I know, but
esports.
yeah,
I'm watching a Jedi fight Inquisitor.
I know. My point is, am I getting back into playing video games? That's what I'm saying.
Come over to my house. You can try it out, and then you can decide. I have both games, Battlefront and Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Well, this is a long episode.
It's a good game.
Yeah, but it's a good game, and I am excited for more versions of the game to come out, so I can go on that journey again and see what's going to happen to our good buddy Cal and BD1. All right, that's it for the Resistance Report. Let's head on over to the Scoundrels Rundown.
You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3, punch it!
Punch it!
Shit.
All right, guys, become a Resistance officer. If you'd like access to more content or would just like to support us, join us now at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. You'll immediately gain access to exclusive content, including 8 mini episodes, monthly Q&As, polls, behind-the-scenes videos, and you qualify for the other benefits that come with being a Resistance officer at each tier. So if you were thinking about joining, now is the time. We want to give a shout out and a special thank you to our generals, Mello, aka a Grey Jedi, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Neel Shah, David Probus, John Risi, Micah Harrison, Tampa Movie Guy, Michael Gaines, Jetta Rosewater, and Val Tichkov. Okay, now that that's over, which is wonderful. It was just like a real big mouthful. Okay, so this Thursday, we're joined by stunt coordinator for The Rise of Skywalker, Eunice Huthart. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Eunice, that was for you. So we had so much fun chatting with her about her career and her experience in the movie, and we can't wait for you guys to check it out, so don't miss it. Guys, this is the fan favorite from the Skywalker Legacy documentary, and we were so pumped to have her come on the show. I can't tell you enough, honestly, one of the best interviews we've ever had. I had so much fun. I haven't laughed so hard in the longest time. So check it out on Thursday.
It's great.
So yeah, for May the 4th, we partnered with bluefinbrands.com for several giveaways. We have the winners of 2 of them here. The other will be picked on StarWarsNewsNet.com today. For our YouTube giveaway, we asked you to comment on last Monday's episode with hashtag #BlueFinToWin. John came up with that, so clever. And the winner is Mark Morikawa, aka The Kind of Vacants.
Hey!
Congrats! And please email us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com and we'll get you the Bluefin Brands Samurai Kylo Ren and Millennium Falcon model ASAP.
Nice haul.
I get all the fun stuff tonight. The second giveaway was our Twitter retweet contest for Samurai Captain Phasma and Poe Dameron's The Rise of Skywalker X-Wing with R2-D2. And the winner of that contest is at RickZ's88. Congrats!
Hey.
Whoa, Rick.
Congrats.
You won.
We're going to send you a DM on Twitter for that information, or for your information, and get you those as soon as possible. We want to thank Bluefin and thank Thank you to everyone who entered and for being part of the Resistance. If you didn't win, don't worry, we'll have more fun contests in the future. I can tell you right now, one off the top of my head, we might be doing an Empire Strikes Back giveaway with some figures that came out recently. So stay tuned.
Ooh.
And last but not least, we have moved our merch store to teespring.com. Instead of Teespring, or no, not instead of. I don't know why I said instead of. It doesn't say that. Head to teespring.com/stores/resistance broadcast to find TRB gear, which includes updates to current designs, new apparel options, and some new designs too, including Mando Fan Show, which everyone's been requesting. Guys, the show's back. The merch is up there. If you want a Mando Fan Show shirt, sweatshirt, etc., it's there. You asked for it. We followed. We give it to you. Okay. And wait, no, it's not called that. One True Emperor?
Yep.
Is it All the Sith or One True Emperor?
Read the copy.
All the Sith shirt featuring the One True Emperor. This is a long Scoundrels rundown. Guys, the shirt is really cool. It's red. It's got Palpatine on it. It's got his line from The Rise of Skywalker, I am all the Sith. It complements the I am all the Jedi shirt with Rey in the back. Both were John's ideas. James designed them. They look beautiful. Head over to Teespring and get those for you. Don't listen to my ridiculous copy. I'm in it tonight, I guess. In it to win it.
In it to win it.
Now we're going to head over
to win.
Bluefin to win.
Bring it on.
Now we're going to head over to John, who's going to do a better job at reading with Ask the Resistance. John?
Don't be so sure, Gilleran. Guys, it's time
Not
for
your best.
Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
What are midichlorians? Right?
Am I right?
All right, guys, here we go.
When we made that, I got a little bit of pushback. I was like, he's asking the question. It's a perfect Ask the Resistance question.
Yeah.
Why not that clip?
James, every time you have an idea, there's pushback, and then down the road, it's like, that was the best idea. So there you go.
It's like George Lucas in the Clone Wars.
Or the prequels. Or Star Wars.
Or the prequels. Yeah.
Or Red Tails. I don't know. All right, guys. 3 questions, 1 for each of us. So how about that?
Yay.
Lacey, this one's going to you.
What?
This is from Rebel Scum Michelle at Baby E Complains. Now, I don't know if this is that Michelle that won the our virtual cantina cosplay
She did. She's Rey, and she also posted a beautiful picture of her with
This
her
is that
children
Michelle,
all
right?
dressed
Yeah.
up. Yep.
Yeah, and thank
Great
you for
picture.
your kind tweet. She said she loved finding the being a part of the TRB community and stuff, and I remember seeing that, so I just want to make sure that was that
The
Michelle.
photo was
so, thank you.
so cute. You better make that your Christmas card. It's
Yeah,
cute.
that was adorable. There's 6 of them there, all in awesome costumes, so well
With
done, fam.
lightsabers, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. And she asked, do you think they'd ever do a Disney Plus series with the perspective of the bad guys? Lacey, what say you on this?
So off the top of my head, when I hear perspective of the bad guys, I think of a Netflix show. That's their thing is we can do bad guys and make it gritty and that's Netflix. I don't know if I can see Disney doing a bad guy show, because even The Mandalorian in the first episode, you're like, oh, this guy kind of sucks. And then by the end, you're like, he has a heart of gold. He's wonderful. He's not a bad guy. So do I think they're ever going to make a bad guy series? I don't know about that. So far, we've only gotten good guys. I can't see Disney doing that bad guy spin, although they've done Maleficent, so maybe.
Loki and...
I don't know. I'm going to say no. I believe in Star Wars being about the good guys winning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right on. All right, next one. James, this one's going to you from Keith Miller at K Miller NC. You from North Carolina? Is that the deal? You a Tar Heel, Keith? Let us know. James, with it now concluded, what is your favorite story from the Clone Wars series? What's the most underrated? I found your podcast looking for stay-at-home distractions, and you guys are saving my sanity and tapping into my geek side. And he put a smiley face.
Aww.
Big thank you. So, Keith, I'll just quickly say thank you for that. Anytime people have been saying that have made it feel good. But James, this one's for you, though. So what's the deal?
Keith, it's a good question. The recent last 4 episodes were amazing, so that it's hard to say that potentially isn't my favorite. Classically, I always go back to the Mortis episodes, just because I even specifically remember one time, like, I was with a friend and I had recently watched those, and I was like, dude, you've never watched Clone Wars? We gotta watch these. And we watched like all of them again. Like, I was like, it's so cool, the stuff that they were getting into and what they were trying to accomplish with those. So I really love the Mortis stuff. But part of this question was an underrated one. And I was looking through all of them. I'm like, everybody says Mortis. Everybody says, the Zillo Beast and stuff like that. So I was looking for one that doesn't get enough love. And I think that is the episodes that revolve around the Citadel. The Citadel, to me, is you see the death of a Jedi, even Peel, and you see, how they handle his death, and you get Tarkin, and Tarkin at this point is like kind of the first time we see him really kind of in canon. I guess maybe not specifically, but in the novel, for instance, he talks a lot about his time at the Citadel. So you get that kind of crossover, and it's like, oh man, I'm reading this novel, and I'm really glad I watched those episodes of the Clone Wars. This is when Anakin and Tarkin become friends. There's some really interesting stuff about how they see how a battle should be won, and you're like, dude, Tarkin is just feeding into what becomes Vader. You know what I mean? He's just like, the Jedi do it a certain way, but I totally get why Tarkin is as smart as he is. I think that might even be a better strategy. It's just, it's really good. Plus you get Anakin and Obi-Wan and all them frozen in carbonite. It's like, when did this happen? This is so cool. You would have never guessed this, and it's all here just in this 3-episode run. It's great. I love it.
Nice.
The Citadel.
Would you consider it the most underrated as well?
That's what I was saying. I was looking at all the different episodes, and I was like, what's considered underrated, So I was trying to look for something that, I don't think people generally say is their favorite, but it's probably number 2, on a lot of people's favorites list.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say.
Okay. Great answer, though. There's a lot to choose from, and I know that's probably tough for you. But now it's official because it's out
Don't
there.
Do that. Don't do that.
Okay, next one is coming from Jedi Knight Karina at Firelord Karina. How's it going, Karina? She asked us, why do you think romantic arcs in Star Wars always end tragically? Kanan and Hera, Leia and Han, Rey and Ben, Sienna and Thane, Anakin and Padme. I don't know if I agree with that. Because Star Wars is it's different from real life, of course, and it's also different from standard romantic style storytelling because it is a space fantasy that has to do with war and conflict and that sort of thing, and heroes and villains and big deaths and sacrifice and that sort of thing. So because Han Solo died, right, and he gets killed by his son, but him and Leia had a really beautiful moment at the end there, and they reconnected with each other. So I don't see that their romance ended tragically. They had a really long run, and if anything, at the end, it became good again, and they embraced, go bring our son home. So I compartmentalize that. Han died, but I don't think that meant that their romance ended tragically. So that that's one example there. Again, Kanan and Hera too. They loved each other right up till the end. This isn't Romeo and Juliet here. This is a guy who, if anything, showed his love even more by that final sacrifice. And, all these main characters in Star Wars have deaths. And these deaths are usually going to be big and impactful and powerful deaths, whether it's a sacrifice or anything down the line, because it's drama and it's a space soap opera. So just because they're having these big, in other words, a Star Wars character is not going to die in their sleep. Like a main character is going to be like, oh, did you hear what happened? He fell down a flight of stairs. Our Jedi hero fell down a flight of stairs and died.
Can I ask you, don't you think she's asking though?
Huh?
I genuinely think she's asking, though,
Yeah.
why do you think they don't die in their sleep, right?
Well, she's saying, why do I think romantic arcs always end tragically? And I don't think the arcs themselves end tragically, is what I'm trying to say. I'm
Okay.
separating the characters dying from the connection of the two people. That's what I'm trying to do here. And some do, sure, but I don't think all of them do. So I separate those types of things because the characters are always going to have these deaths, as I say. And, you know, did Padme and Anakin have a tragic ending to their romance? Absolutely, 100%. I don't think Ben and Rey did necessarily. He gave his life for her. I think that if you see that as their thing being a romance, I think that is not a tragic ending for them. He died, sure, but the bond there wasn't tragic. I think Padme and Anakin is the best example of a tragic ending to a romantic arc. That's what I'll say. The rest, I kind of separate the people dying from their connection with their significant other. I hope that made sense. And that's it. We had some more, but we don't have time because, as James said, this was a long one. The Resistance Report went a long time, but we hope you guys enjoyed all that. But that does bring us to the end of the show. Make sure if you do want to be on the show with a question, we always put feelers out there at our Twitter, at RBATSWNN. So look for that, usually Tuesday or Wednesday. And then also, if you just want to get on the show anytime you want, send a question using hashtag AskTheResistance. We'll find it, and we'll get you up here. So thank you for all of you who just sent your questions in. You always make our show better, and we appreciate that. But make sure everyone listening and watching subscribes to the show. You can do that on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. So we appreciate that. And share it with a friend because we grow because of all of you, and we really appreciate that. Head to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. You heard the deal about Patreon before. If you want to support us, sign up. If not, that's cool too. Tier start at $2 a month. We appreciate all of your support a great deal. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. And, of course, back here Thursday and the Mando Fan Show, hosting that deal on Fridays. James, how about you?
Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trunks. Don't got a lot to say, just want to throw to Lacey.
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran.
All right, guys, that is it. Again, enjoy your weeks. We hope you're well, and we'll see you on Thursday morning with a great episode interviewing Eunice. It's stunt time. We'll see you guys later. Until next time, right here on the Resistance Broadcast.